Good afternoon and welcome to the Philadelphia Tribune's Christopher J. Perry, Carter G. Woodson Black History Celebration. I'm NBC 10's Anya Lachelle. Today I have the distinct honor of being the mistress of ceremonies for this program. We come together to celebrate African American history and its lasting impact on our society and culture in a time when it is more than necessary. Carter G. Woodson once said, quote, "Those who have no record of what their forebears have accomplished lose the inspiration which comes from the teaching of biography and history." I encourage you to both remember and honor the work of African Americans who have contributed to the greatness of this nation. But before I officially kick off the event, please tell us how many of you subscribe to the Tribune by taking the poll at the bottom of your screen. The Philadelphia Tribune provides timely and compelling news that is informative and relevant to the African American experience. But it is with your support that they can continue to bring you award-winning journalism reflecting that African American experience. So please make sure you subscribe today. Please welcome Reverend Dr. Kevin Johnson, founder and lead pastor of Dare to Imagine Church, who will deliver the invocation. He will be followed by the national anthem and the Negro national anthem, performed by Dr. Valerie Gay and accompanied by Dr. J. Donald Dumpson.
Greetings. Let us go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, we thank you this day as we celebrate the richness of African American history and culture. We know, O God, that we could not celebrate this history without Mr. Bob Bogle and the Philadelphia Tribune. As we come on this day to remember our legacy, we are ever so thankful for the history that has been made in America with the election and swearing in of Vice President Kamala Harris. As we celebrate Kamala Harris, God, we're so reminded of those who have come before her, like Shirley Chisholm and Barbara Jordan and so many others. God, as we give you thanks for this day, let there be another Vice President Kamala Harris. Let there be another President Barack Hussein Obama. And let there be little boys and little girls who will look upon this day and say, I too can become great because I am a proud African American. We thank you, O God, this day. Bless us now and bless our speaker, Dr. Calvin O. Butts III, as he blesses us this day. In your name we pray, amen.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing of the hope that the present has brought us, facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stormy the road we trod, bitter the chestnut rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat of our weary feet, come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of a bright star is cast. God of a wearies, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
Thank you, Reverend Johnson, Dr. Gay, and Dr. Dumpson, for your participation in today's program. Good afternoon and welcome to our annual Christopher James Perry, Carter G. Woodson Black History Celebration. In 1926, Carter G. Woodson suggested the second week in February be designated Negro History Week in an attempt to recognize and acknowledge the contributions that African Americans have made to the greatness of this nation. In the decades that followed, presidents, governors, and mayors have issued yearly proclamations recognizing what was then called Negro History Week. By the late 1960s, thanks in part to the Civil Rights Movement and a growing awareness of Black identity, Negro History Week evolved into Black History Month. History is a continuous narrative of the past that helps shape the course of our future. Culture is the artistic and intellectual products of a particular group and represents the richness of that group's heritage. Today, African American history and culture make up a people's story, and for 137 years, the Philadelphia Tribune has documented a great deal of that history and the African American experience. This afternoon, we will celebrate history makers Dr. Olive Stanford, founder of Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, Dr. Willie Johnson, founder and chairman of PRWT, and Cheney and Lincoln Universities, America's two oldest academic institutions for undergraduate studies to serve the African American community. And lastly, we will hear inspirational words from our keynote speaker, the Reverend Dr. Calvin Butts, senior pastor of Abyssinian Baptist Church. Ladies and gentlemen, this program would not be possible without the support of our sponsors: Independence Blue Cross, PICO, Comcast, Wells Fargo, AmeriHealth Caritas, Jefferson Health, as well as our co-sponsors, AARP Philadelphia, Einstein Healthcare Network, and Temple University. Thank you for your support. Our sponsors recognize how important it is to celebrate our history and provide inclusive and diverse workplace environments. Now let's hear from our sponsors, who are leaders in our region and have a vested interest in the fabric of our community. And please remember, support those that support you. That's a good thing to do, and that's the only way we will all make progress that makes all of our tomorrows better than our todays.
Black History Month is always important to me and Independence Blue Cross, but it feels even more important this year. The events of 2020 showed that despite our progress, the promise of American values and rights has not been realized for all. This month is a time to celebrate the resilience and contributions of Black Americans and the continuing fight for true equality. I am proud and honored to be the first African American president and CEO at Independence Blue Cross. When I joined Independence 4 years ago, I saw right away that it was easily the most diverse organization I'd worked at. I recognized that this opportunity would not have been possible without the work and sacrifice of local and national civil rights leaders, and the commitment of leaders and board members of the company who have fostered a diverse and inclusive workplace. It's a great legacy. We hire diverse people, we buy from diverse companies, we serve diverse communities, and I'm excited to continue and build on that legacy.
As a company that helps our most vulnerable populations access health care, AmeriHealth Caritas recognizes the struggles that the Black American community still faces every day to achieve a better quality of life. We know that our members' health is affected by historic barriers that make up a system of racism that is a root cause of poverty. We've been committed to equality since our company's founding in 1983, with a mission to help people get care, stay well, and build healthy communities. Our company has made addressing barriers to equality and equity a cornerstone of our organization. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are part of our DNA. This past year, our efforts took on greater urgency as the pandemic and the tragic killings of George Floyd and other Black men and women put a spotlight on systemic racism and the debilitating racial and social inequities that Black Americans face every day. AmeriHealth Caritas believes this starts by building bridges in our members' communities to help provide them with access to more than clinical care. Our goal is to support our members on their full life journey, to help them find a pathway to prosperity and maximum independence through programs that address the whole person and eliminate inequities. As we celebrate the hard-won achievement by Black Americans, we must also remember that far too many obstacles remain in their way. Those obstacles, the racial and social inequities that prevail, demand our continuing advocacy for policies and programs that ensure every American an equal opportunity to reach their dreams.
By reimagining diversity and inclusion from the top, Jefferson made changes that will last beyond any single person. I am proud to be the first woman of color and first Puerto Rican woman to sit on the executive cabinet. Our plan is transparent. We want to understand the experiences of our patients, our students, and our employees. We are reporting on hiring, retention, promotion, as well as discriminatory concerns. We are also running a pitch program, like a Shark Tank, for supplier diversity called Supply Chain Connect that increases access to our local vendors within our footprint. To go even further, our plan sets goals to ensure that Jefferson's management will be more than 30% non-white in 4 years. We will continue to stand up and declare unequivocally that we stand united by our values. I am proud to be part of this community.
Here in my hometown of Philadelphia, there's a long list of historical contributions from the Black community. Businessman James Fortin, painter Henry Ossawa Tanner, physician Henry McKee Minton, architect Julian Francis Abilene, trailblazing lawyers Raymond Pace and Sadie T.M. Alexander, and opera singer Marian Anderson, just to name a few. Now, while all of these figures were very accomplished and contributed greatly to the city of Philadelphia and to the United States of America, very few, if any, were fully recognized and accepted in American society. So I feel empowered to ensure their stories are heard, along with the forgotten stories of other Black individuals and people of color who have positively influenced the city of Philadelphia and America as we know it. Today, during Black History Month and throughout the entire year, we must take a moment to pause and recognize Black Americans, to celebrate their too often neglected achievements and their integral role in our nation's history. And it's now more important than ever to ensure their stories are told, remembered, and celebrated. That's what the Tribune has done throughout its history and what I know it will continue to do in the future. I'm very proud of how my company, PICO, responded to the actions of the past year, sharing Black Lives Matter on the iconic PICO crown lights, and truly opening an opportunity for dialogue, both within our company and externally, so we could talk about important issues facing our society. More than that, I'm proud of our ongoing commitment to diversity and inclusion, and I know that's something that's woven into the fabric of our organization. I'm encouraged and pleased by the work of PICO's diverse leadership team, of which I'm proud to be a part. And I'm also encouraged by the work that we do to create an environment in which all of our employees feel welcomed, included, and valued.
At NBC Universal, we believe that talent, creativity, and diversity of our people are our greatest resources. That's our credo. And together with Comcast and our local television stations, we help amplify the Tribune's voice and service to the African American community. For most of us, the road to success and achievement has been a challenge. In fact, it remains very difficult for the vast majority of African Americans in our country. Nevertheless, we learn from today's honorees that education, purpose, and commitment to lift as we rise provides a clear path to individual and community success. As I think of Black History Month, I am reminded of my two favorite quotes. One is from Maya Angelou, "And still I rise." The other is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward." Both quotes speak to the grit, determination, and love that define the African American experience, and both quotes give us wings as we celebrate Black History Month and every day of the year.
On behalf of Wells Fargo, I would like to extend my sincere thanks and congratulations to all of the honorees. Your tireless efforts and passion to fight the good fight and to get in some, as the late Congressman John Lewis would say, get in some good trouble is something to be recognized and celebrated. True heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic. It is not the urge to surpass all others at whatever cost, but the urge to serve all others at whatever cost. And I just think this quote is very fitting for the honorees that we are recognizing today.
Since we last gathered to celebrate Black History Month, we have experienced even greater challenges that have a disproportionate impact on our Black and Brown communities across the nation. We know that multicultural communities face grave obstacles in the battle against COVID-19, and those obstacles will have long-lasting implications. This pandemic will be something that many over the age of 50 will not be able to recover from, physically, financially, and emotionally. AARP believes it is critical to address these issues. I can share that our members, volunteers, staff, and partners like you will be hard at work this year to speak to those disparities and implications surrounding our health, our wealth, and our livability. Throughout Black History Month and beyond, we want to celebrate the joy in our communities, its beauty, its brilliance, its tenacity, and its resilience. We thank you for your leadership, and we look forward to your continued partnership.
At Temple University, we heard those voices. We heard your voices. That is why we are investing more than $1 million in new funding, money that Temple University will spend to support anti-racism education, programming, and research. These dollars will expand the university's Department of Africology and African American Studies, create a center for anti-racism research, and develop a bridge program for young people in North Philadelphia that will help prepare them for college. Temple University was founded more than 130 years ago to create a doorway for success for students from all backgrounds and from all parts of our city, region, and nation.
Our mission statement, with humanity, humility, and honor, to heal by providing exceptionally intelligent and responsive healthcare and education for as many as we can reach, is our guide as Einstein continues its long history of treating an expansive and diverse community. Racism is a public health crisis.
That's why Einstein was one of the first in the region to provide a standalone community testing site for COVID-19. Through a partnership with the Philadelphia Department of Public Health, we made testing accessible at no cost to those who live or work in the neighborhoods surrounding our Philadelphia campus, and we plan on doing the same with a community vaccination site, making vaccines also accessible to the communities we serve. As 2021 continues to unfold, we have much to be hopeful about. Democracy has prevailed. Vaccines have shown us the light at the end of the pandemic tunnel. The reaffirmation of social justice, which Einstein strongly supports, has intensified. We are on this journey together. We will stay strong together. We will forge a brighter future together.
Hi, this is Marshall Mitchell. I'm the pastor of Salem Baptist Church of Abington, and I want to call attention to the Philadelphia Tribune. It is an indispensable fixture in our community. When other people would tell other stories and other narratives about who we are, we've always been able to rely upon the Philadelphia Tribune and my dear friend Robert W. Bogle to tell the truth about who we are. And there is a different narrative, and the Philadelphia Tribune is a different kind of media outlet. And that's why we should support the Philadelphia Tribune. The Tribune publishes 5 times a week. It has over 400,000 people who read it, and it is the eye on our community. It keeps us honest, but it also makes us honest brokers about what's happening in our town. And if it weren't for the Tribune, God forbid how we would be reflected on other news outlets. But now you have an opportunity to demonstrate your support, your fealty, your confidence in the Philadelphia Tribune. So I want to appeal to everybody. It's just like when churches open the doors of the church and a Baptist preacher says, come on and join up because there's something good. There's something good in the Philadelphia Tribune. It's there for you. It's available. You can subscribe online. And if you look below, you'll see exactly where you need to go. The information will be there for you to order online and to order a regular subscription. So make sure you get connected to the Philadelphia Tribune. It is the voice of our community.
Don't worry, help is coming. And as I watch the news like everyone else, and the Tribune put out that article on April 3rd that said 46% of African Americans are dying from COVID-19, I said, I am not waiting anymore.
Ayla Stanford is a force of nature. Her commitment to people, her professionalism, her keen intellect, and her desire to help people is transcendent. When America was in crisis and Black America was suffering, Dr. Stanford stepped up. She used what God gave her. She used test kits to test people for COVID-19. She got a rented van, and that was the end of the story. Because she took that, she transformed a van, a rented van, a couple of test kits, and driving around the city of Philadelphia to an entity that has now tested tens of thousands of people from all walks of life. She's vaccinated thousands. She's cared for people who the system, the federal government, the state, and the city forgot about. And she does it lovingly. And she does it for Black people. So for the Tribune to honor her and to listen to her and to salute her demonstrates her commitment to them and their commitment to her. It was in the Tribune that Dr. Stanford first read Black people were dying, that were not being tested, and something needed to happen. That's when she called me and said, we've got to do something. If you know anything about Ayla, when Ayla uses pronouns, she's very particular. That we was not an invitation, it was a command. And so in the parking lot at Salem Baptist Church, the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium was founded, christened, baptized by fire and water, and went out to serve people. I'm grateful to God that the Lord has allowed me to play any role in helping to heal the city of Philadelphia. But I'm even more thankful that God brought Dr. Ayla into my life and inspired me to do better and to do more at a time when our people needed it. So Tribune, congratulations to you. Ayla, keep keeping on. And for Black Philadelphia and Philadelphia of all stripes, Dr. Stanford's coming. Watch her over the next couple of years. I think you'll be amazed.
I want to thank you, Robert Bogle and the Philadelphia Tribune, for the opportunity to say a few words about Willie F. Johnson, the founder of PRWT Services in 1988. PRWT is approaching 35 years in business, and that is to be celebrated.
I think the most dynamic program that we're involved in is the creation of EasyPass. And when we rolled out EasyPass, we do back office and customer service for EasyPass all over the country.
PRWT, a Black Enterprise 100 company for more than 15 years, the Industrial Service Company of the Year in 2009. The company has served as a beacon of pride and opportunity for the African American community of Philadelphia, specifically in the areas of employment, community engagement and support, career development and advancement, and there are many PRWT alumni in the Philadelphia region, including yours truly. Willie, we thank you for your vision, dedication, and commitment. Willie has served on many boards that are committed to the education and advancement of Black people, including his alma mater, Allen University, where the Student Center bears his father's name, Willie H. Johnson, the Community College of Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia Tribune. Willie has many, many, many awards, too numerous to name, but I will highlight just a few. The Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year in the Business Services category for the Greater Philadelphia region. The Senator Bob Casey Black History Program, read on the floor of the U.S. Senate for Corporate Citizenship, and the Urban League of Philadelphia Whitney M. Young Jr. Award. The true measure of Willie is his dedication to his family and friends. And there are too many stories to tell, but let's just say Willie has a very big heart. When I look at a body of work, I ask two questions. Did they leave it better than they found it? For Willie, that's check. And did they help somebody along the way? For Willie, that's check, check. Willie F. Johnson, you have definitely made a significant contribution to Philadelphia, particularly its African American citizens, and we thank you. Willie, here's to you.
Greetings. I'm Aaron Walton, President of Cheney University. On behalf of the students, faculty, staff, trustees, and the 30,000 living alumni, we are delighted at the recognition being given this historic treasure. For context, I will share a brief chronology of the institution's history. Cheney University, as it is known today, resulted from a bequeath in the amount of $10,000 in 1829 by Richard Humphreys, a Quaker elder, toward founding a benevolent society or institution that would educate the descendants of Africans. At its founding in 1837, the university was named the African Institute, but was soon renamed the Institute for Colored Youth. In 1902, the Institute moved to George Cheney's farm, 25 miles west of Philadelphia. The name Cheney became associated with the school in 1913. In 1983, Cheney joined the state system of higher education as Cheney University of Pennsylvania. Josephine Salome Yates, an 1877 alumnus of the Institute for Colored Youth, stated the following: "The aim of all true education is to give to body and soul the beauty, strength, and perfection of which they are capable to fit the individual for competitive living." Cheney has endured the test of time because in its evolution, it has survived the Civil War, the Great Depression, several world military conflicts, and multiple recessions, relying on a strength that occurs from purpose. That purpose, creating a sanctuary for the next generation of leaders, scientists, entrepreneurs, individuals, and educators, is Cheney's everlasting cause. Some 183 years later, the university has adopted 3 strategic priorities: student success, financial strength, and a standard of excellence. The need for America's HBCUs is as relevant today as ever. HBCUs make up only 2% of all colleges and universities in the United States. Remarkably, the Network Journal recently found that these institutions produce 40% of Black members of Congress, 40% of the nation's Black engineers, and 50% of America's Black lawyers. These statistics echo a long period in Americans' history when the only quality education available to young Black children was at a school designated and designed for them, where they could be included, respected, and encouraged. Facing the myriad of challenges of today's society, Cheney is in the midst of transforming its model to have its graduates take advantage of the opportunities of the 21st century. Our vision is that Cheney University of PA will be the premier educational model of academic excellence, character development, and social responsibility. That vision is being facilitated by engaging in public-private partnerships with a significant emphasis on STEM technology. These partnerships provide Cheney University students with paid internships in industries that have traditionally been outside of the normal reach of African Americans. Past and future graduates will continue to boast that they are Cheney made, our current theme, because they will continue to recognize the value of their education, continue to enjoy a family-like culture, and realize, in the words of alumnus Ed Bradley, the road we will travel after leaving Cheney will have been made possible by what we learned while at Cheney. Thank you for this honor.
Horace Mann Bond, in his publication, Education for Freedom, reminds us that Lincoln University is the first institution founded anywhere in the world designed to provide higher education in the arts and sciences for youth of African descent. Originally established as the Ashman Institute, Lincoln University received its charter from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on April 29, 1854, almost a full decade before the emancipation of the race. Its founder, John Miller Dickey, noted, and I quote, "Kindle the lamp of knowledge. It will surely light them to an elevated position, civil and social, among the people of the earth," unquote, expressing his belief that education could transform lives. Ashman Institute was dedicated on December 31st, 1856. The first students were John Ralston Amos, along with his brother Thomas and Olmsted Miller. They graduated in 1859. On April 4th, 1866, the institution was renamed Lincoln University in honor of President Abraham Lincoln. The university celebrated its 100th anniversary by amending its charter in 1953 to permit the granting of degrees to women. In 1972, it formally associated with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as a state-related co-educational university. Lincoln University alumni have led more than 35 colleges and universities and scores of prominent churches. They also include physicians, lawyers, teachers, U.S. ambassadors, mission chiefs, federal, state, and municipal judges, mayors, and city managers. Among the most notable alum are Langston Hughes, class of 1929, world-acclaimed poet; Thurgood Marshall, class of 1930, the first African-American U.S. Supreme Court Justice; Reverend James Robinson, class of 1935, founder of Crossroads Africa, which served as the model for the Peace Corps; Nnamdi Ezekwe, class of 1930, the first president of Nigeria; Kwame Nkrumah, class of 1939, the first president of Ghana; Roscoe Lee Brown, class of 1946, author and widely acclaimed actor of stage and screen; Lillian Fishburne, 1971, the first female U.S. Navy Rear Admiral; Sheila Oliver, class of 1974, the first African-American woman elected Assembly Speaker in the New Jersey General Assembly, and the first African-American woman elected Lieutenant Governor in New Jersey; and Sarah Amildalai, class of 1994, the first female Prime Minister of Namibia. Today, Lincoln graduates continue to make names for themselves in the sciences, business, religion, education, law enforcement, the creative and entertainment fields as writers, directors, comedians, and film executives, as well as many other fields, continuing the legacy to learn, liberate, and lead.
Congratulations to Lincoln University, a historically Black college, and to all of our honorees. I am thrilled to introduce a man who wears many hats: advocate, activist, visionary, and founder. Reverend Dr. Calvin Obutz III is pastor of the internationally renowned Abyssinian Baptist Church in New York City. He has made it his mission to tackle issues like homelessness, youth and senior empowerment, community development, and cultural awareness. He has rallied and led the charge against causes such as racism and workplace discrimination, violence, and negativity toward women, and exploitative advertising. He is currently a member of the Presidential Advisory Council on HIV/AIDS and sits on the board of New Visions for Public Schools. Please welcome our keynote speaker for the afternoon, Reverend Dr. Calvin Obutz III.
Good afternoon, beloved. Thank you for joining us today for this Black History Tribute. I want to thank, firstly, Brother Robert Bogle. I've been with you now on several occasions through the good graces of the Philadelphia Tribune, and Brother Bogle has been the messenger who has brought me to you. I want to thank you for staying with this brother across these number of years, and I want to thank Brother Bogle for the same thing. I am delighted to be with you through this virtual platform to speak to you at this Christopher J. Perry and Carter G. Woodson Black History Tribute. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Congratulations to the honorees today. I know that you are overjoyed receiving the recognition, and I pray that your work will continue, and I pray that you will continue to spread the news that there is good news afoot through vessels like yourself. I am troubled because we have to come together this way due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's where I want to start my talk with you this afternoon. This pandemic is one of the worst challenges that we have all faced, and in my generation that we faced in this nation. And it prevents us from sharing one with another in ways that we have been accustomed to. The touch, the hug, the family gatherings, the Black History celebrations like we are so used to there in Philadelphia. And so I'm speaking to you as a result of this pandemic from the pulpit of the Abyssinian Baptist Church in the city of New York. This church itself, a part of our grand history as a people sojourning here in the wilderness of North America. But, beloved, as we face this pandemic, there are some things that I think we need to review in order to help us to get through it. First of all, I want to pray for all the families who have been touched by this horrible disease, who may have lost a loved one, a family member, a friend. May God be with you. And I pray that soon this pandemic will be lifted. But while we're in it, I think that we all need to do what we can. Wear masks, gloves, practice social distancing, wash our hands often. We need to do these things in order to protect ourselves and each other, because we have a deep concern for the other. So I'm encouraging you now to do those things so that we will be safe. Moreover, I'm working hard here in the city of New York, as I know you are, because I read the Tribune in the city of Philadelphia, to push back against the spread of this pandemic. I am working along with ministers in New York City, in Detroit, Michigan, in Newark, New Jersey, in Washington, D.C., and in Atlanta, Georgia. In fact, in Atlanta, we're working along with our new United States Senator, the Reverend Dr. Raphael Gamaliel Warnock. The Ebenezer Church has joined with Abyssinian Church and other churches across the nation to do testing. And a couple of weeks ago, we did our vaccinations. We were able to distribute 500 vaccinations to people in the community of Harlem. And I hope by the time you see this, we will have distributed even more. But let's pray that we can fill the void with more vaccines, and that we can convince so many of our people that vaccines, or this particular vaccine, is good for us and will help us to overcome this pandemic. This is important, beloved, and I want to touch on three things, or three people associated with our history that may help us to overcome our fear, our hesitation, the old wives' or old husbands' tales about how we should face this pandemic. You know, I'm challenged by so many in our community, and some who are highly regarded, who tell us we shouldn't take it, that the vaccine equals death, and who point our attention back to Tuskegee, Henrietta Lacks, and so many other examples of where we were led astray by the healthcare system of this nation. Not to be denied. I embrace it fully. I'm fully aware of what happened to the brothers in Tuskegee experiment and how Sister Lacks was exploited. And I know there are many other stories that we can call up to point out how racist and bigoted and one-sided our healthcare system has been in the United States of America. However, today I want to point out three things that I think and hope will convince you that once the vaccine is available, you will take advantage of it. Our community is dying at twice the rate of those in the white community. Now, beloved, remember, I use the terms black and white not to indicate that one has a superior position over the other, and not to let you believe that I know there's no such thing as race. I use these terms because these are the terms that our nation has become familiar with as it has been led and guided by a white supremacist administration, not only recently, but for most of the 200 plus years this nation has been in existence. So white people are not dying at the same rate as black people. Black people are dying twice as fast as whites are, and brown people 1.5 times more than whites are. So what I want to suggest to you, beloved, is this vaccine is a lifesaver. And while there are still some unknowns, we have too many people in our community who are saying that our community needs to take advantage of the vaccine when we have the opportunity. It will save lives. It will save lives. And beloved, this is important to us because we want your life to be protected. I'm working with a group called Choose Healthy Life. And this is the consortium of clergy that I was speaking of and churches across the 5 cities that I named. And it's taken from Deuteronomy, 30th chapter, where it says, I have put before you today life and death. Therefore, I encourage you to choose life that you and your seed may live. And so we are choosing life. And a part of that choice involves our people having access to, receiving, and embracing the receipt of the Corona-19 vaccination. And why is that? Why am I encouraging you to do it in face of the history that we have with the healthcare system in the United States of America? One of the greatest scientists, physicians, architects known to humanity was a polymath called Imhotep. He who comes in peace. This is a part of our history. He was an Egyptian, and Imhotep often credited with being a master physician. Maybe, perhaps, in terms of recorded history, the first physician. He was a man of many talents, a polymath, and he was a vizier to the Pharaoh. However, beloved, I want to stress that he was a part of our history as a black person, as black people. He was a part of our history. And we have contributed so much to medicine and science. In fact, Imhotep was here before Hippocrates, and Hippocrates got a lot of what he espoused from the early days. And remember, Imhotep, he who comes in peace, was about 3,000 years before the birth of Jesus. So if you want to talk about our contributions as a people of African descent, as black people, to medicine, start there. And Imhotep was able to come up with the cure, well, not the cure, but how to treat wounds, how to deal with the gout, and a number of other very important healing techniques that came from taking extracts from plants and applying them to use within and without the body. Imhotep, and I think this is particularly important for our young men and women to understand as they grow and develop as a part of our history. And if Imhotep were alive today, if we could find a polymath like Imhotep around today, why wouldn't we follow the advice coming from one? You say, well, in the Tuskegee experiment, there were black nurses who conspired with the whites to mislead our brothers. Yes, beloved, and we can find in so many other places black people who conspired with whites to mislead our brothers and sisters. But here we have a historical figure that we can document, a historical figure who served the Pharaoh as a physician, as an architect, as a scientist, as an advisor, and a physician who brought to us healing that was good, not only for our bodies, but the more we know about he who comes in peace, also for our souls. Is there a balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? I offer to you on this celebration of our history, Imhotep. Look more deeply into this figure who comes out of our experience as an African people. 2, I bring to you Dr. George Washington Carver. Dr. Carver is credited as a scientist with saving the agriculture of the southwestern portion of the United States. Growing up out of the bowels of Tuskegee Institute, started by Booker T. Washington, he did more than just develop uses for the peanut and the sweet potato. He was actually a man who could converse with nature. He would rise up early and go for long walks and talk with nature. He was blessed by God, and who would turn down? The Pharaoh did not turn down the great knowledge of Imhotep, and white Southern agriculture did not turn down, though they did not give credit immediately, the great scientific discoveries of George Washington Carver. He saved the southern portion of the United States. They are not ready to give credit even today to this very powerful black man who was a scientist, learned and trained, that brought healing and salvation primarily to whites in the southern region of our nation. And if George Washington Carver were with us today, as if Imhotep were with us today, would we not listen? Would we turn our back on our own who have come to bring us healing and nurture? I suggest to you that George Washington Carver was also a poet. His poetry, much of it is beautiful. And he was someone who believed so much in his people that he gave his life to Tuskegee Institute, still a great and venerable institution, and would not take money for what he said God had given him. Imhotep, wouldn't we listen? George Washington Carver, wouldn't we listen? And then, beloved, there was Daniel Hale Williams. Here is the man who performed the first ever open heart surgery. Daniel Hale Williams, Chicago, trained. And before X-ray, I think he did the open heart surgery in 1893. X-rays were not discovered until 1895. So without the benefit of X-rays, without CT scans, without any of the modern equipment, contemporary equipment that we have today, here was a man guided by the hand of God who set the stage for open heart surgery in the world. You need to look more deeply at the contributions of Daniel Hale Williams. And, beloved, ask yourself the question, if Daniel Hale Williams were with us today, would we turn our back on a man of such skill and such talent who brings healing and life to our communities? Is there no balm in Gilead? There's Imhotep. Is there no balm in Gilead? There's George Washington Carver. Is there no balm in Gilead? There's Daniel Hale Williams. And beloved, what about Charles Drew? Beloved physician who died at a very young age. I believe he was in his mid-40s when he passed away. Who developed work with blood plasma. Now, I don't have a lot of time. I promised Brother Bogle I wouldn't take up a lot of time today. But I'm suggesting to you that Charles Drew and many white soldiers on the battlefield, some of them refused to receive this life-saving plasma, though it saved thousands, because they didn't know whether or not it came from a black person, and they didn't want any black blood. Will we let those same kind of racist notions and tendencies pollute our ability to cling to something that could save our lives? If Charles Drew were here today, he would say, I believe that we should look to the vaccine. And beloved, I've given you Imhotep, George Washington Carver, Daniel Hale Williams, Charles Drew. I also suggest to you, beloved, that our physicians in Meharry Medical School, in the Morehouse School of Religion, in the Charles Drew School, Morehouse School of Medicine, in the Charles Drew School of Medicine, that these, and at Howard University, Friedman's, that these schools are behind the advocacy for us to receive the life-saving vaccine. Would we reject these learned voices, these physicians, men and women that we have encouraged? We need more black doctors. We need more black scientists. We need more black nurses. We need more black medical technicians. We need more people in the healthcare profession who can assure us that the techniques that are being used today for our healing are safe for us. We didn't have them in the days of Tuskegee. We had a few, but not as many as we have today. We didn't have them in the days of Dr. Drew. A few, but not as many as we have today. And now the National Medical Association. Who else are we supposed to listen to? We have to listen to those who have been trained, and many of them have held on to God's hand. And they have been sent, I believe, in their training to our community for such a time as this, to encourage us, to ensure us, and to say, we are here watching. We are here to save lives, and we are encouraging you in this effort. And so, beloved, I would say to you, as we celebrate our history, let us not forget our scientists, and especially at such a time as this, especially in the midst of this pandemic. And so I'm going to use them, some leaning over the balconies of glory, like Imhotep, like Dr. Carver, like Dr. Hale Williams, like Dr. Drew, and some with us now, like Dr. Marcella Nunez Smith, some with us now, like that young woman scientist, Dr. Kismekia, I think I'm saying that right, Corbett. Like the leaders in the Congress, Donna Christensen, who for many years while she was there led the health effort for the Congressional Black Caucus. Aren't we supposed to trust these voices? Don't we send our children to these historically black colleges and universities? Don't we celebrate Black History Month? And now when they come to us and suggest to us, do we fall back on the old wives' tales? What are some of those old wives' tales? You know the foolishness. You got a lot of pain, so you put scissors between the mattress. Why? So when you lay down, it'll cut the pain. Foolishness. We're trying to encourage our men to go get your prostate exam. We don't know that's going to. No, there are techniques today that will not impact, brother, the sexual prowess you think you have. What are we supposed to do today? We listen to the men and women who have been trained to help us And beloved, I'm here today to say, as we regard our history, think from Imhotep to Kismeskia Corbett. Think of those young men and women who are now in the bowels of our great medical schools. I'm a Morehouse man, so you know I'm going to tout the Morehouse School of Medicine. But you also know that I will be touting all of our great medical schools. Dr. Charles Drew's sister was a member of the Abyssinian Church for many, many, many years. We know what we have given. We know the trusted voices. We also know the machinations and chicanery of our nation, but thank God now we have saints in Caesar's household. Thank God now we have black men and women who believe in our community, who believe more importantly in our God, who are willing to put their lives and reputations on the line in order to send us to healing. So in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic, please eschew the voices that tell you to stay away from the vaccine, and trust those voices that are encouraging us to receive it, because it will be healing. It will be healing for our souls, for our community, for our people. And so, beloved, thank you for listening to me for these few minutes. You know, I want to be able to stay with you and give you one of those long 2-hour speeches. But I want you to get on with the business of honoring the men and women that you have chosen today. I again want to thank Brother Robert Bogle for staying on the battlefield, for going forward, and for keeping the Philadelphia Tribune as a major contributing force for black people across the United States of America and around the world. Thank you, beloved, for enduring me one more time. I'm delighted to be with you, and I wish you a marvelous celebration in memory of Christopher J. Perry and Carter G. Woodson. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Butts, for that powerful and inspiring message. It has truly been my pleasure to MC this event. You all have been a gracious audience from afar. On behalf of the Philadelphia Tribune and the sponsors, we thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and happy Black History Month.